Hello everyone, Curious Corduroy here, and I was going through some stuff on my YouTube channel as I was editing. I was looking for something really old to put into a video, and I came across two videos in regards to Final Fantasy VII Remake that I made back in 2015. The first one was just talking about my overall thoughts on the first trailer that came out for, what was it? It was the PlayStation Experience. And then the second video was talking about news about 7 Remake going episodic, which was super controversial at the time. So I haven't watched these videos, but I'm kind of curious to see, what my reactions were to everything back then, to see if anything has changed. Am I still kind of the same? So who knows? And hopefully these have aged well. I don't think I've really changed too much in terms of how I make videos and present myself on screen. But this should be an interesting trip. So if that sounds cool to you, you can click the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the bell notification thing so that way you get a notification when I upload a new video. All that stuff helps out so much. So we'll start with the first video. First video here. I hope it's not bad. I will cancel myself if it's bad. Oh, my old intro.
Everybody, Curious Corduroy here, and I wanted to do a quick video today talking about Final Fantasy VII, the remake.
My sound is
today,
horrible.
Actually, a few hours ago was the PSX event.
Yep.
That Sony,
I'm peeking the microphone.
I believe once a year now.
So,
and the reason why I want
I actually wasn't using a microphone. I was using my phone. That was a Galaxy S7. So I was peaking the S7 microphone. I don't have an actual microphone in this setup. I remember I placed my camera in front of a window because it had the best lighting. Clearly not the greatest quality, but you know, you get the idea.
to talk about that was because they opened the show with a brand new trailer for Final Fantasy VII, the remake. I'm assuming that's actually the title.
The remake.
And it's a gameplay trailer, so there's sections of gameplay, there's sections of exploration, there's sections of cutscenes with dialogue. The game looks incredible.
It's a trailer.
It's gorgeous. Of course, all we're seeing right now is like the inner cityscapes, so a lot of it is wet and dark and depressing
Midgar.
and brown. Even that looks good, but I'm excited to see what the rest of the areas are going to look like in the game. So, you know, because there's a lot of colorful areas in the original Final Fantasy VII.
First off, I used some really annoying background music for this video. It was supposed to be video gamey, because at the time when I was making videos and no one was watching them, it was just like a variety channel. I talked about whatever I wanted to, whatever was interesting, whether it was video games, TV shows, movies, what have you. So that was kind of like the whole basis of the channel. And this news came out and I'm such a big Final Fantasy fan. I'm like, I got to talk about this at some point. But referencing that trailer that I was talking about, it was very brown. It was very kind of muted in terms of its color and its lighting. Cloud, I remember, looked kind of sickly in the original PSX footage compared to what it would look like in the final product. But even then, I was thinking ahead of like, what's everything outside of Midgar going to look like?
There's a lot of colorful villains and summons. I'm really excited to see how those are going to turn out. The combat looked cool. I will get to that in a second because that's the main point of this video. The voice acting sounded pretty solid so far. It sounds like they're doing the Advent Children cast for this game. I have no issue with that. I thought they were pretty solid, especially the actor that voices Cloud. I can't remember his name, but I really like the tone to his voice, but I'm hoping he can give a little bit more emotion this time around. And
Steve Burton. Past Corduroy, that's who you were thinking of. Yeah, so this was before the cast switched. This was OG Advent Children people who were doing the voiceover role, and somewhere through development that all changed. Everyone got fired and they brought in new people. And I remember there was a video from Maximilian Dood where he got invited at E3 2019, I think, to go like behind the scenes and get like a special demo of the game along with a bunch of other journalists. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the developers at that time had said that, yeah, they had a new cast of characters. But what was interesting is they said that the Advent Children people would still be involved in Final Fantasy in games outside of Remake. I don't think that's true anymore because there have been some other games where I think they've used Cody Christian's voice in particular for Cloud. I think it was Chocobo GP. I think was the one that had Cody's voice in it. So this was around the time where, yeah, we thought it was going to be Advent Children people. Some people weren't really too keen on that. A lot of the voice acting within the Advent Children like cast was kind of controversial at times because some people thought it was bad. Some people thought it was great. I didn't mind it. I really liked Steve Burton as Cloud. I thought he had a nice tone to his voice. But again, you know, I really love what Cody Christian has brought to the character nowadays.
the music sounded really good. It was beautifully redone. I don't remember the exact name of the score, but it's the music you hear right at the beginning of the game where you're entering the Mako reactor, and it's dun, 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 dun,
the opening
dun,
bombing
dun,
mission.
dun,
Yeah,
dun.
the bombing mission, you
It was beautifully
moron.
redone by an orchestra, it sounded like. I'm very excited to hear the rest of the music in the game. 7 has some of my favorite music from Final Fantasy 7.
Also, I was way skinnier here. What was I doing back then compared to now? I was way skinnier.
The reason why I'm making this video is to talk about the gameplay. Whenever something new comes out, my voice is getting higher, people will find something to freaking complain about.
Nothing has changed. It's still the same. Remake came out and I thought it was wonderful. Rebirth came out, I thought it was wonderful. And yet you had people complaining up and down about the gameplay. They hated the action stuff. They wanted a return to command-based menu, turn-based stuff. I still get comments on my channel from time to time from people saying like the action stuff sucks. That's why Square's not doing well. That's why Final Fantasy isn't doing well. They need to go back to turn-based because the moment they go back to turn-based, it's gonna save the franchise, which is not how things work. But, you know, it's funny how that stuff just doesn't change.
And now they're complaining about the gameplay. And this is why a lot of game companies are hesitant to revisit old classics and update them. Keyword, update them. They said from the beginning, this Final Fantasy VII Remake was not going to just be the same old Final Fantasy with a new coat of graphics. They said from the very beginning, it's going to be a brand new game from the ground up. So you should be able to expect that the gameplay system is going to be different. There's people that are mad because the game is not turn-based like the original Final Fantasy VII is. They're mad because it looks something more like Final Fantasy 15 or even Kingdom Hearts. I would kind of compare it more to Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, it was definitely much more closer to Kingdom Hearts, at least in what we saw in that trailer, which was CyberConnect's build of the OG FF7, which, you know, eventually they would have that taken away from them because Square was just not happy with what CyberConnect was doing, so they brought it in-house. But if you look at the combat in that trailer, it is very much like Kingdom Hearts. From the command-based menu popping up in the corner and not going anywhere to the attack button, all the special abilities, it was very much like, let's take Kingdom Hearts' combat system and just put it into Final Fantasy VII.
It's not turn-based, it's an action RPG now, which I honestly have no issue with.
Still don't.
I would have been fine with turn-based.
I agree.
They're bringing this game into a new generation, you know, and they want to update the combat system, and it looks cool. I mean, they're taking advantage of the graphics now. The PlayStation 4 and all these new consoles are extremely powerful, so it makes sense to have something that's more action-oriented, and it looks cool for one, but there are tons of people complaining that it's not turn-based.
Just to interrupt myself again, going back to what I said there about the graphics being updated and wanting to do action stuff, it's kind of funny I said that because in later interviews with the developers from, you know, even 7 Remake to Yoshi P and Final Fantasy 16 to the developers on Clair Obscur Expedition 33, they were talking about this whole phase of like graphics getting so high fidelity that doing turn-based, it just didn't make sense. It made way more sense to do action-oriented stuff because you have these beautiful characters and enemies and animations and particle effects to take advantage of with an action-based combat system. So it's kind of funny how I brought that back, or at least brought it up all these years ago, and it's still technically kind of relevant today. And you have to keep in mind, I made these videos way back when in 2015. I didn't know who Maximilian Dood was. I didn't watch any Final Fantasy content on YouTube. This was all just like my own thoughts and opinions that I had formulated over the years from being such a big fan, you know?
And I can understand if you have constructive criticism on why you don't like action RPGs and why you want it to be turn-based. That's cool, I get that, I respect those opinions, but a majority of what I'm seeing are people saying, oh, Square fucked us over this time, or, oh, this game, and these are people who have built a time machine, traveled into the future, and have played the remake for themselves, because they're saying stuff like, oh, it's just an action RPG now, it's not gonna have any strategy or depth to the combat.
I gotta bring back that character. That was like my way of mimicking like online internet trolls, was like they have this snooty, snobby attitude and they look up when they speak to you. That has not changed. again, we still have people complaining about the combat system. It's like, if you're not into it, you're not into it. Again, my thoughts and opinions haven't really changed there. I was just much sassier back then when it came to giving my opinion out there, which I thought was kind of funny.
And the way I imagine these people sounding is like those kids from South Park.
Yeah,
I don't remember if they were the goth
that's
kids
what it
or
is.
Emo kids, but they have like their hair is shaved on one side.
You
and
flip
all
the
way
hair.
over, and they're just like, oh, I'm better than all of you. That's how I imagine these people are sounding right now.
I still think that's how people sound. Every once in a while, I'll get a negative comment on my channel that's either mean towards me, my thoughts and opinions, or people in the comment system. And when I read that comment, that is what I hear. Those kids from South Park, the goth kids.
Because they're complaining over something they haven't even played yet. People are making Lightning Returns comparisons to the combat system. All we have seen is gameplay. We haven't got our hands on it.
And keep in mind, this was back when Final Fantasy XIII was super controversial. A lot of people hated it. It was pretty divisive. I think it was the definition of divisive. 50-50. You either loved it or you hated it. And it became this big thing that Square was trying to make happen. It's like Mean Girls with the word fetch. Gretchen Wieners, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen. That's how people felt towards Final Fantasy XIII. It's like Square went all in on 13, put all their eggs in one basket, and really wanted it to be this big franchise. And a lot of people back then just were not receptive. But you look at the reception nowadays to Final Fantasy XIII, and it's completely different. There's so many more people that are willing to express how much they really love that game, how much it influenced future Final Fantasies, how it's their favorite Final Fantasy of all time. And that's something that happens, I think, within every gaming community. But every Final Fantasy in particular, I think, kind of starts off divisive. You had 13, which was divisive. 14 just shit the bed completely when it came out, and then it got fixed. 15, I think, was also divisive, and then, 7 Remake and 16. Every game is divisive, but I think as time kind of passes, people are able to look at this stuff maybe with, they take off the rose-colored glasses and they're willing to give it a fair shake, I guess is the best way to put it.
And if anything, it looks more like Kingdom Hearts. And if you've played Kingdom Hearts, you can't button mash your way to victory in that game.
You can button mash, but you're going to get your ass kicked. Kingdom Hearts 2 in particular does have some really cool tech in it when it comes to the combat that you can really take advantage of. And enemies in that game are just nuts. Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 2 was an insane fight. He's got like 50 health bars. He does some really insane stuff, and you really got to be on your game to beat him. It's not easy.
There's still lots of strategy and depth involved in that combat system. Planning when to use certain items, planning when to attack, planning on when to use your magic, what kind of magic to use, planning on when you're going to heal your AI partners or let them, take most of the damage or do most of the work in a fight. So there still is a lot of depth to that combat system, and I expect Final Fantasy VII, the remake, to really take it seriously and not just be a button masher.
And that's kind of what it turned into. There's a lot of depth that you can get out of Remake and Rebirth. Rebirth especially, man, with like the synergy system and all of the cool abilities. Especially, it really feels like the characters in Rebirth have much more defined classes than what they did in Remake, or maybe even the OG. Like Barret is clearly the tank of the group. He can take a lot of damage, but he can also heal. He can intercept damage. He can build up his defense. So there was so much depth that even back then I was fully on board with what they were doing. And I'm like, yeah, like there's probably going to be a lot of depth here when this game comes out. So I was super optimistic. I'm still pretty optimistic. I think I'm one of the more maybe optimistic people within the Final Fantasy community, which maybe some people don't like. But when, again, I mentioned this in a really old video when I was talking about the ending of Rebirth, my mind doesn't just jump to negativity. I just start asking questions. I get really inquisitive of why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? So I don't really react in a negative way. That's just kind of how my brain works, I guess, with this stuff.
So I respect everybody's opinion, even if it's wrong.
I was so much sassier back then. I need to bring back some of that sass.
But be constructive with your opinion here.
Yeah.
If you don't like action RPGs, say why you don't like them. If you're not happy with the direction they're going with the gameplay, be constructive about it. Don't just be like, oh, Square sucks, or this combat system, which I haven't played yet, is going to be awful.
My thoughts have not changed. I say this from time to time in videos. If you don't like something about a game, totally fine. But you have to be able to find a way to express that in a constructive way to get your point across. You can't just say something sucks or someone's stupid for liking it. Why don't you like said thing? You know, you got to be able to get that out and articulate it. It helps get your expression out, but I think it also helps you as a person kind of figure out, oh, these are what I like about games. This is what I don't like about games. It's a valuable skill to have.
That is stupid. And there's already people still saying like, oh, this was supposed to be a remake of the original. Square has now ruined my nostalgia. Hair flip. Really?
Hair flip, yeah. That still happens these days. There's so many people that are like, oh my God, I hate what Square has done with 7 Remake. They ruined the original. Oh my God, the phrase "we wanted" gets used so much within this community of we didn't want this, meaning we didn't want 7 Remake and Rebirth. We wanted the original game with better graphics. I hear that all the time on my channel. So again, things have not changed.
Get the fuck over yourselves, people. If you don't want to play it.
Oh man, younger me was not afraid to just call people out. I've gotten soft in my old years.
Don't play it. If you're not happy with the direction it's going in, don't pre-order it. Don't play it.
Yeah.
Let the people like myself that are actually excited for this game be excited about it. And you know what? At the end of the day, the original Final Fantasy VII still exists. If you're not happy with the direction the remake is going in, guess what? You still have the original Final Fantasy VII to go back and play and enjoy. Your turn-based combat, the MIDI music, all that's still there. A brand new 7 Remake is not going to erase the fond memories or the original physical copy of Final Fantasy VII. It's always going to be there. It's just now you have something different and new to look forward to. You know, and even though people are saying, oh, I'm not going to play this game now, I can guarantee you, you know what? 95% of the people that are saying they aren't going to play this game are still going to play it.
Yeah.
So I am curious, Corduroy. I'm super excited for
Things haven't really changed, man. And again, like I said, you can be constructive, but I think it's this phrase, don't yuck someone's yum. If someone is really into something and you're not, you don't have to be an asshole about it and try to, you know, tell them all the reasons why they're wrong for feeling the way that they feel about something that they like. I wish more people could understand that on the internet, but unfortunately, that's just not how it works. And again, like past me said, OG FF7 is still there. In fact, there are tons of mods on the PC side of things for OG FF7, like the new threat mod, all these mods that add story stuff and side quests and new combat stuff, new materia systems, new graphics and sound effects, even voice mods from, you know, the fan community. So there's thousands of different ways to play this game. And if you're not into the new stuff, that's totally cool, but you can be, you know, kind of chill about it.
To come out. I don't even have a PlayStation 4. I'm getting one just specifically.
Yeah, I didn't have a PS4 at the
I know
time.
it's probably going to come out on Xbox One, but I feel like.
Oh yeah. So past Corduroy about that. It was supposed to come to Xbox One, but something happened behind the scenes between Sony and Square, and that just didn't happen. A lot of money got exchanged for that. Yeah, that hasn't changed either. Like, if you're not into it, like, I would love to hear why. You know, it's fascinating to hear the other side of someone's, you know, thoughts and opinions on something that they don't like, you know, especially when it's something that you're really into, because sometimes when you're really into something, maybe you have some blinders on, so you don't always see some of the negatives. So if someone can, in a constructive way, point out, hey, I don't like this about the game, I love hearing that. It opens up my eyes and makes me look at things a little bit differently. So, man, the biggest takeaway, I was cooking a little bit and I was way sassier, but a lot of my thoughts and opinions didn't really change from back then to where they are now. There is one more video, but I'll put that in a separate video because this one's already getting way too long and I hate having super long videos. I just think it's kind of annoying. But either way, I'll do this other one separately. I'm curious, Corduroy. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you ever go back and watch or read like old news and react to old comments for Final Fantasy just to kind of gauge what people were saying about said project back then? It's really fascinating to do. But I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.